But it does seem like most of us are here. Good to see some familiar faces without faces yet. Although I see Jamie. Hey, Jamie. Okay, shall we, I guess, get into it? It seems like stragglers have straggled. All right, welcome everyone to the first info session for the second round of the Generator Fund. The Generator Fund is the 34th regional regranting program to be sponsored by the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Arts for projects that propose new directions for the creation and presentation of contemporary visual art. It is administered by the Buffalo Institute for Contemporary Art, or BICA, excuse the cat. My name is Nando Alvarez Perez. I am an artist and co-founder of BICA. And today you will also be hearing from our co-founding executive director, Emily Reynolds, and from Wavy, who is BICA's gallery assistant and project coordinator for the Generator Fund. Our goals for the fund are to support artists and independent curators whose work often falls outside the scope of typical funding sources, and to act as a seed fund to support the creation of new platforms for contemporary art in our region. We have got two types of grants, which can be found on the About page of our website. Let me just share that right now. In 1 second. Okay, here we go. So the first ones are kinetic grants, which are awards up to $2,000 to fund an artist production for a new project with a publicly accessible component. Examples may include exhibitions, performances, film screenings, books, zines, brochures. These are grants to support your ongoing studio practice, work you're working on, with the goal of presenting it in some public way. And for examples, you can always go to also on our site, the round one winners. Last year, Matt Kenyon was awarded a kinetic grant for his project Dumpster, which is an interactive talking dumpster fire, a fusion of tech, art, and environmental concerns. And from there too, you can see the work in action here. And when Matt proposed this work, he did not have a site chosen for the presentation of it here, and that's fine too. And now I'm blanking on where it will actually be shown here, but it sure looks like it's in Silo City Riverworks. And the second type of grant that we have are potential grants, which are awards up to $10,000. I will say last year that all of the kinetic grants were in the amount of $2,000, and all of the potential grants were the full $10,000 too. Potential grants are intended to act as seed funds to sustain novel, long-term platforms for artistic expression and experimentation that foster collaboration, dialogue, and discourse in our region. Examples may include exhibition spaces from project spaces in your spare bedroom or bathroom to starting a proper gallery, to podcasts or uh, 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 radio stations, zines, and long-term publishing projects. This grant is meant to fund artists in collaboration to create new platforms for presentation. So the idea of this is that you are starting a thing that will outlive this year of funding and will serve more than your own individual studio practice. Last year, we had a couple great projects that won, including Kyla Kegler's Agatha Falls, which is a new performance and time-based media art space in Niagara Falls. And you can find her site here too. They have done exhibitions, performance workshops, and residencies, and are going to continue to do so into the future too. If you also want to find more projects that the other regranting programs have deemed fit under the Warhol Foundation's needs, you can go to the Foundation's regranting page, go to any one of these websites and find examples of arts projects that have won. I think really the main ways that ours are different is just that we split them up into a quick smaller grant and this longer term seed fund. Finally, in both grant types, the jurors are looking for proposals that exemplify collectivity, equity, or unexpected collaboration, which nurture and sustain our creative ecosystem and or represent a distinctive or new approach to the visual arts or culture in our region. I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I'll take it from there and quickly introduce our jurors for this year. Find the right tab. Hold on one second. I also just want to quickly reiterate what Nando said about the two different levels of grants. One thing that we learned last year is that a lot of people tried to fit their kinetic project into a potential sized hole, and the jury caught on to that quickly. So if you're applying for the 10,000, really make sure that it fits the criteria of that project, of that grant type. But here I go with the jury. Okay. So we have invited 3 jurors this year to review the applications towards the criteria that Nando shared. The first is Najeri Rutherford, who is coming to visit us from Detroit. She's an arts administrator and a dancer who administers the Warhol Fund that supports similar projects in Detroit. So she'll bring a lot of knowledge about what they've been funding through their fund, as well as what kind of art stuff is happening in Detroit. So we're really excited to have her on our jury this year. The second juror is Janine Marsh. Janine is an artist. She's based in Toronto, and she also will be around Buffalo quite a bit this fall as she's working on an exhibition with Bika that will open in January. And Janine is like pretty important part of the art scene in Toronto. She has lots of connections with other artists there, and she's excited about what being a juror here will help her glean about the art scene here and how we can better connect our two cities. And then our third juror is Ryan Arthurs, who is our local juror. He is from Buffalo and currently located here. He's a visual artist and the founder of Rivalry Projects, which is a commercial art gallery in Allentown. And we're really excited to have him on the jury because he is working with both local and international artists, trying to connect them to each other and also trying to connect them to patrons and buyers who are both local and outside of Buffalo as well. So we think that he'll bring a great eye to this project. And with that, I will hand it to Wavy, who is going to take us through the application and how to work with Submittable. Let me stop my share.
Hello. Let me start mine. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to take us through the application on Submittable. You can apply through our website. We're going to go through the potential grant. So the first thing that it's going to come up with is the eligibility form. And this is just to check to make sure that your proposal is eligible for the project. There's a couple different ones based off of whether it's a potential grant or kinetic grant that you're applying for. So this project is firmly based in or related to the visual arts. The lead organizer of the project resides in Erie or Niagara counties. The resulting project activities will be accessible and presented to the public within Erie or Niagara counties. The proposed project is new or with this grant will undergo a dramatic change, a rebirth, a move, etc. This proposal is not for an organization currently holding 501(c)(3) status, which means you can work with a nonprofit, but it can't be a nonprofit applying for the grant. This proposal will nurture the local creative ecosystem by supporting the creation of a platform that will benefit multiple artists. So this one is key for the potential grant. And you have to select where the project is located. The main criteria your application will be reviewed for are: 1, nurturing the creative ecosystem in our region; 2, exemplify collectivity, equity, or unexpected collaboration; and 3, exemplify a distinctive or new approach to the creation or presentation of visual arts in our region. So we have the basics: name, pronouns, email, mailing, website, social media links, and then the book of the projects within the next couple steps. So you'll need a title and a tagline. Think of the tagline as like for marketing and promotional purposes, so that when we're talking about these funded projects, there'll be like 18 of them that it summarizes your project in like a little short, sweet way. So like, for example, I did a project group chat. My tagline for the project was the one and only monthly mixed bill showcase. So it's like something short and sweet to describe what your project is to people who don't know. Then the project description. So tell us what will happen, what will be produced, and what your audience or intended community will see or experience. Don't forget to include where your project will take place. It cannot take place at Beacon. And if you don't have a location yet, share your plan to secure one. If it doesn't require a physical venue, how will it be publicly accessed? List the other people involved in your project. So are there collaborators or artists that you'll work with? Not all of them need to be confirmed, but indicate any people who are involved, and also communicate with people that you would like to work with before you submit your application, so that they're not seeing your application somehow and saying, oh, I didn't even know that I was going to be a part of this. A project timeline is a good thing to include, and include milestone dates relevant to your project. This will help keep you on time and let us know how you plan to complete your project. If you haven't produced a project like this before, describe your relevant experience that will help validate your capacity to complete your proposal, and describe the audience for your project and how you plan to reach them. There's another reminder based off of what the jurors will be looking for. Your eligibility, make sure it's firmly rooted in visual arts and not like trying to convince us that it is, because if you're not secure that it's rooted in visual arts, then the jury is not going to believe that it is. Will the proposal nurture the creative ecosystem in our region? Does the proposal exemplify collectivity, equity, or unexpected collaboration? And does the proposal exemplify or a distinctive or new approach to the creation or presentation of visual arts in our region? Then we have the budget form, which we're going to circle back to. You'll need to upload a CV, keep it under 3 pages, and work samples. So here you can upload like documents, PDFs, pictures, whatever works. But note that the jurors have an estimated review time of around 3 minutes per application because they have to review like 100 applications. If you would like to submit video works, we couldn't download them last year, so we're only accepting links for video works this year. Make sure they're not password protected, but you can list them as like unlisted on YouTube. That way they're not searchable, but you can still access it. Any description for your work samples, if you need to tell us why you're submitting them or have anything you need to say about them. And then the last of the application is just demographic data, and this is not reviewed by the jury. So if there's anything in this section that is specific to your project that you want the jury to know, make sure that you include it in the project description because they don't see this information. It's just for demographics. So we'll go back to the budget and Emily will go into depth on that.
Thanks, Wavy. I will go into budget to depth on that. So we think that after reviewing applications last year, we just wanted to give a little bit more information on the budget and how to write a really good one. A budget is really like something that the jury will look at as they are also looking at your project description, and they can use the budget to answer questions that they have. The two things sort of need to go hand in hand, right? So you can find, we're going to have everyone use the same budget template this year. Last year, we tried to let people submit things in other ways, but we found that it was much easier to review if everybody's looking at submitting the same info. So please use our budget template that you can find. You can find it linked and submittable. You can also find it on the website here. Once you'll find this link, it's to a Google form link. You can either make a copy of this form to start your own budget, or you can also, if you prefer to edit this in Excel or as a PDF, you can go to download here and hit Excel or PDF, and it'll download in that format, and then you can make changes as you wish. So start with making sure your name is filled out here, and then it's important to think about what this fund what we can fund with this generator fund. So you should enter all budget items related to your project, including but not limited to artist fees, contractual services, publicity, hospitality, outreach, supplies and material, publication, distribution, photocopying, postage, rental of space or equipment, and any other project-specific costs sought to be covered by the awarded funding. You can add additional lines as necessary in Google. You can do that by right-clicking and inserting a row below. Very easy. You'll start with your expenses, the things that you just need to spend money on. You'll move into in-kind expenses, which are things that will be donated to you or you'll get at no cost, but are still providing value to your project. And then you'll move on to income. It's totally appropriate for you to have sources of income for this project. The first one actually is what you're asking for from the generator fund. So in this green square here, you should have either $2,000 or $10,000 or whatever sum you're requesting from the generator fund clearly delineated right there. If you're selling tickets, or if you're selling your artwork, or if you're doing some other kind of fundraiser, any other things that you'll do that might make money and help fund this project should be listed here. This tab should have the same number as an in-kind expense, because those in-kind are both income, right? Because you're receiving a service for free, but they're also an expense because you're trading something, it's a value. And then the final area here should be your total income. We have pulled 2 example budgets from our last year's applicants that we are going to share with you so that you can get a sense of what a real budget or an awarded project budget looked like last year. So the first one, this was awarded to Frank Napolsky and Group Work. Group Work was proposing a 2-day performance that's actually coming up soon at Silo City. They mostly were looking for money that would cover the materials they needed to produce this show. So like a generator, a 15-foot truck that's helping them get their gear from their homes to the site, a scrim, tubing. Some of these things I don't know exactly what they are, but I think they're important to making this happen. They also included $100 fee, or $100 here for just things that are changing in value. We understand that we're asking you to write this budget today for a project that might not happen for over a year. So we understand that there might be some variance in how these things go. But so their subtotal of expenses was $2,000. They had some in-kind expenses, a projector rental that's being loaned by a local theater group. They have some people who are helping them that are not going to pay anything, that they're not going to pay to. They've made that deal by themselves. And so here you can see that their total expenses are $6,000. They requested $2,000 from the generator fund, and they also plan to do a campaign for donations. That, along with their $4,000 income, comes to a total of income of $7,000. Now, one thing that's important to notice about this is that they have $1,000 surplus here, which that's also fine. In their application, they described what they do with the surplus, which is apply it towards their next projects. Group Work produces these events pretty regularly. And so we thought that was a totally fine way for them to have, that extra expenditure. And that's a thing that I think is also really nice to note, is that in your project description, if there's anything that you think the jury might have questions about in your budget, just describe it there. Make sure that they don't have any questions. We'll go through quickly a much bigger budget for the potential application. This was from Kyla Kegler's, Agatha's application that Nanda mentioned earlier. Kyla asked for a lot of money to support the artist she's working with, which was fantastic. She asked for a fee to cover her own expenses at $35 an hour. She asked for some money for hospitality. She also wanted to pay for some more production support. Her total expenses were $14,000. She had also a lot of in-kind expenses that she was able to find. Some of them are helpful to see there. For example, the jurors might have been wondering, how are you paying for costumes? Oh, you can see that that's right here. She didn't forget to include that in the budget. She has it here. She also got a grant from Squeaky Wheel to use their equipment, which is a great grant that many of you might also want to consider applying to along with this grant. So her total in-kind were $12,400, and the total expenses for the whole project are $26,400. She requested $10,000. She also has $4,000 in ticket sales here. As you can see, that basically makes up for the rest of that $14,000 beyond the $10,000. And her her budget balances. So she gets, the same amount that she's asking for, she'll make back. So those are two examples of budgets that we thought did a great job and didn't leave us asking too many questions. And with that, I think I'll hand it back to Wavy, and we'll have, if you have questions about any of this stuff, we'll have time for them at the end.
Should I share my screen back up, or did you want to
Oh,
leave it?
I'm sorry. I totally forgot that was what I was gonna do. I've got it open here. I can do it.
I just wanted to know about our other info sessions. So in addition to this one that will be available on our website, we also have 2 other info sessions. It's the how to apply tab. The second one is at the Castellani Art Museum. That'll be Monday, August 26th at 4:30. You don't have to register for that one. You can just show up. Same thing for the info session at Bika, which is Saturday, September 21st at 1 o'clock. You can just show up. We'll also have office hours where you can get one-on-one help with your application and any questions specific to your proposal. We would be happy to help answer. Appointments are on Thursdays throughout August and September. So you can book on our website. And we'll also have group work time in the Bika School Lab from the 26th to the 28th during Bika's gallery hours. And that'll be beneficial because there'll be other people working on their applications. You can ask questions, get answers. Yeah.
So
And
with that, should we open up to questions? Was there anything else, maybe?
No, that's
Great.
it for
Great. Who's got questions?
I have a question.
Go for it.
What is like a good timeline? Like what kind of timeline are they looking for? Like within the 1 year range, within the 6 month range? Like
That is a great question, Koala. The projects need to take place between January 1st of next year and December 31st of 2025. So it should all take place within 2025. There's not a set, like within that time period, it's whatever makes sense, whatever works for your project. Yeah, we're finding that a lot of them are just starting to happen now that we funded last year. So yeah.
cool. The other question I had was, what is a CV? It was on the application.
We don't let Nando.
Maybe we should do a session about this. CV is a curriculum vitae. A resume is a document that you would submit to if you're applying for any job, you would have a resume that is ideally 1 page that lists relevant work experience, skill experience, education. A CV for an artist is a document that shows every exhibition, publication, artist talk that you have taken part in. And for examples, for you, Koala, and other artists that I know here, you can go to my website and find a CV there. But since you asked that, and that you are not the only person who's asked me that in the last 2 weeks, I'm thinking that maybe we should have a CV info session as well.
Yeah, I would participate.
So yeah, that will be on our mind.
Other questions?
There's one in the chat.
Yeah, a collective space. Yeah, the thing is, it's always hard writing a grant thing like this because we don't want to limit people from projects that could be really cool. and we don't even know exactly what to call them. I think collective space could be a pretty broad term, but would be a space where many artists benefit from, possibly even like a studio space that has a publicly accessible part of it, or I don't know, Nando or Wavy, do you have any ideas for how to expand on what a collective space might mean in this
I mean,
scenario?
as an example, like the Beacon School Lab is
You
kind
worked
of
out in yours.
Keep going.
where it's not wholly publicly accessible, but a large number of people have access to it. They can do their work there. For people who have access to it, it is also a meeting space for the communities that they're a part of. If it's unionizing teams or organizing for pride parades. We definitely did have I feel like what was pretty much a collective space be awarded a potential grant last year, but their landlords made some problems for them. But yeah, definitely like it's definitely a bit vague, but just kind of don't want to stop your thoughts. Just keep in mind that visual arts needs to be a core component of how the space gets used, accessed, thought about.
And then the same person asked about media and videography, including as a visual art component. And yes, absolutely. I think the thing that we found last year is lots of people were trying to include visual art in something that wasn't quite the right fit. The thing at the base is you need to think of yourself as an artist. If you're applying to this, you really probably should think of yourself as an artist, possibly a curator, possibly an organizer, but really that is what the base of, if you're an artist, you're making art. If you are a videographer and you're making commercial videos, this might not be a space for you. But if you are making art that is, not for any specific greater purpose or
That
financial
most
purpose,
useless thing of
yeah,
all, art.
then we think it's art. Yeah. I hope that helps. This is one of the most difficult questions to go through. Any other questions? Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to give you guys all a little cheat code, which is that if you submit your applications early, we will review them and send you feedback. As long as you probably up to the like 2 days before, we will probably be able to look over
Let's
them
just say a
and
week
send
before,
feedback.
though, just to be on the
The
safe
ones that
side.
come in the last day, we absolutely won't have time to review all of them and send feedback, but we really do want everybody to have the strongest application that they possibly can. So the earlier you submit, the more likely we are to be able to really spend time with your application too and work on making them great. So, and if you have any questions for us, our email addresses are all on the Generator Fund website. And yes, open to novice grant applications for sure. You don't have to be any sort of professional here. Yeah, I think that covers it though. And like I said, yep, get in touch if you have more questions for us, but we're all really excited to see what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna end it. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.